Gotham City Year 1, Issue 1, Tom King writing with Phil Hester on the art. So this is the next mini-series from Tom King. And I do love the idea of Gotham 1 getting a Year 1, or Gotham City getting a Year 1. Gotham 1. Yeah, and I wasn't really sure exactly what this was going to be. You know, we obviously had to solicit when it was first came out and stuff, but this...
we knew Slam Bradley, right?
Yeah, we knew Slam Bradley was going to be like kind of lead character here. We get this story that does bring in the Waynes. Richard Wayne, which is Bruce's grandfather, and his wife Constance are characters in here as well. And it teases at the start that there's some mystery going on about why they're not like revealing their baby to the public too much. Like they're being kind of reclusive about with their daughter. And Slam is introduced at his office. This woman comes in, kind of under mysterious circumstances, saying she's got an envelope for him to deliver and money to pay him. It's not from her. Like she's doing this on the behalf of someone else, and she gives her name as Sue, but doesn't really give much else. And notably, this is the 60s, and there's a lot of talk later on in the issue about the black areas of Gotham City, and this woman is black, so worth mentioning that here at the start. What threw me off here at the start here, and I guess it makes sense now with the timeline, but it started off by saying it's 1962 or something like that. 1961. And I'm like, man, these moving timelines of comic books are like, because I'm just so used to like, you know, like if you tell me like what time period would you say Bruce's grandfather was like, I would have been like turn of the century. You know, that was my first statement. But obviously, if you're thinking about it in present day times and like what age Bruce is supposed to be now, and you sort of work your way back, yeah, by now, yeah, maybe the 60s is all right.
Yeah, I mean, I typically think of Bruce as kind of early 50s.
No? He'd be younger than that if we were in 61 with his grandfather, before his father's even an adult. Because there's no mention of Richard having a son here, so I don't know if Thomas is even born yet.
Okay, because 50s would take you back to what, like 70s?
Yeah, early 70s.
Yeah.
It's only 10 years before that.
I guess, yeah, I guess I expect Bruce to be a bit older than that. Like that feels like a very young Bruce in this continuity then.
Yeah.
Bruce can't be older than 30 really at this point then, surely.
Yeah, I would say. Which, I mean, I think technically New 52 did establish something like that, but obviously the timeline was wonky because he's had 4 Robins in the space of 5 years or something stupid like that.
Yeah. Like this feels like it's skewing back towards a younger Bruce than I think of, but
yeah. I mean, if anything, I would have said 61 would have sounded right for a Thomas Wayne story. That's what I would have thought. I would have thought 61 would have been a Thomas Wayne story, and a Richard Wayne story would be like back in the 30s or something like that.
Yeah, 30s or 40s would have been my immediate reaction to where this would be set.
That's it though. I don't think there was any reference to Thomas Wayne existing. I mean, maybe he's off at college or something. You know, maybe it's just skewing a bit different than what I think it is. But anyway, so he thinks it's weird, but he gets his assistant, old Johnny, to Taylor and find out where she came from and see if there's more to this. But he takes the money, he takes the job, and he goes to the Wayne Manor. The art here is fantastic. Hester's art works really well here. There's a lot of flat colors, a lot of muted yellows, tans, browns, and things to give you the sense of the time period. You know, when he's in his office, like, it's mostly, again, very earthy tones, white backgrounds with greys and browns and yellows. Like, there's a very specific color scheme to this, and it gives it the time period down. So when he goes to the mansion, he's basically accosted by the head of security, who's actually an old cop that he used to know when he was on the force. And they sort of rough him up a little bit to the point where after he meets Constance Wayne, he's taken down to a basement area and beat to shit. And it's not until quite late on they even read his... Actually, no, I think they read the letter first. Like, eventually Richard Wayne shows up and they read the letter first. But ultimately what's going on here is, it turns out after some questioning, because they're not really telling them what's going on until later on, is that their child's been kidnapped. Their daughter's been kidnapped, And this note was like a second note from whoever's got her with the ransom, saying to give the money to Slam Bradley. He's going to deliver it. Don't call the police. Blah blah blah. And it matches a note that was left when the baby was taken. It matches a note. And what's notable about the note is that it's signed with a bat symbol, which is probably the only thing in this issue that I don't like, because it's the one thing that made me go and roll my eyes. So I don't know, like, where they're going with that, you know, especially since Richard starts coining whoever this is the Batman, you know, with like a hyphen. So
very prequely, isn't it?
Yeah, up until that point, I was really into this. I was into, okay, all right, yeah, we've got like a kidnapping of a Wayne baby. Slam Bradley's a detective, going to go and find it. We're going to delve into some of the darker side of the history of the city. The idea that you've got the rich neighborhoods and you've got the poor neighborhoods, which some of which are black neighborhoods, and kind of like the attitude of like the rich people try to clear up those parts of the city, but you know the unsaid part being to get rid of the people that are there. Part of the background plot is that Richard Wayne's building a factory in the south side of Gotham where the poor areas are. So there's all this like mythology stuff and like city building in the background that I actually really like, and I really like the Slam Bradley stuff. I'm still into the plot. I'm still into the kidnapping plot. It's just this actual bat thing that I'm like, what is this? I don't. What are you doing here, King? And maybe there's going to be a point. Maybe it's going to all make some sense later on. Maybe there's some wonkiness here to Slam's memory, because the sort of, not twist, but the reveal at the end of the issue is that all his narration, he's actually talking to Batman in present day, or I don't know if it's present day continuity, but it's, you know, present day, you know, somewhere when he's Batman. So he's telling this story to Batman as a really old man, and talking about the darkness of the city and all that. And it's basically saying, yeah, you think Gotham broke when you were around, but it broke before you. It broke long before. And you know, he does sort of talk about when he's driving around that, yeah, there's bad parts of the city, but it is kind of like this family neighborhood where everyone sort of still treats each other like they're in a small town. Is that true? Is he right to think that, or is that just his perspective and he's not really uncovered the true darkness yet? The big thing though that makes it a bit murkier is once he's eventually let go, and the Waynes don't necessarily believe that he's innocent, even though he's saying that he is, but the instructions are to make him be the one who delivers the money anyway, so they have to kind of go through with it. And there's some great full-page panels of him walking from the Wayne Manor in the rain. It's very moody, very pulpy. But probably the most pulpy thing is when he gets back to his office and it's all red and black, kind of like the nighttime lights with just the red street lights on the outside to give you that drama. Again, very noir style tone. He gets a phone call, and the phone call is that his assistant that he sent tailing Sue, the woman that delivered the letter in the first place, he's turned up dead. He's like been dumped in like some cement or something. And he's been shot with Slam's own gun that he gave him for protection when he went out to follow her. So now the cops are like, where were you all day? Your guy just showed up dead with, you know, your own gun. And he can't tell them because he's been told by the Waynes not to tell the police about anything that's going on because the kidnappers will kill the kid. So he's found himself in this weird position where he's responsible for saving this kid now, and no one on any side trusts him. So it's kind of like a really hard done by kind of story. And this all plays out like in the work site where they're going to build this factory. And there's the big sort of billboard saying, coming soon to Southside, the Wayne Industrial Refinery, the future of Gotham. Which I always enjoy. It's like a very Back to the Future, and you know, even like dark with the nuclear power plant. This like, oh, there's like some sort of landmark in the city we're going to use to like be this central point for everything. But yeah, the last page is like super old Slam Bradley, you know, talking about this. He says he sounds just like his grandfather, which implies that he knows who Batman is, which is worth mentioning, because he says, you sound just like your grandfather, and you know, you don't look back, you know, you don't look back to what was before you, kind of thing. There's truth, there's secrets. Gotham fell before you ever got here, which is a really cool line. This idea that, you know, and it was always kind of known, that's always kind of true. Like, you know, Batman became Batman because the city was already corrupt and gone to shit. So yeah, but yeah, the last line is just him looking at Batman saying, you don't know a damn thing. To be continued. So I really like the story. I really like the mystery that's setting up. The only thing I don't like is the idea of the kidnapper using this bat symbol, which does make me wonder if there is going to be some sort of weird other element to it, like whether it's time travel or whether it's I don't know, or maybe like Slam's like not a trustworthy narrator or something like that. But the fact that Batman's here to listen to this story implies that there's something to learn specific, and maybe it ties into what this this kidnapper who used this symbol. But I certainly wouldn't have thought it was going to be a time travel story of any kind. But that bat symbol definitely makes me kind of hope that it is, or something akin to it, because otherwise it's just so on the nose and prequely that I'll hate that in retrospect. For now, I'll see where it's going, because the mood and the tone and the characters and all the Slam Bradley detective stuff is all great. And the art is like perfect for it. The art is, I can't compliment it enough. Lots of flat colors, like I said, but also lots of flat shadows. The panel where he's looking down at his dead friend and the cement, like the rain's like pouring down on him, so you get like the drips coming off his hat, but the shadow completely covers his eyes, so you don't actually get to see his eyes in this shot. It's like so moody, and like you really get that kind of pulpy noir, but also mixed with maybe a little of David Fincher's Seven, in terms of like just how sinister it feels and how kind of hopeless the world feels around him. So I really dig that. So needless to say, like, I'm not surprised to come out of this going, I'm definitely reading this issue too, because it was another good Tom King book. But there is that one element that I might not like, depending on what it does with it. Either if it stays muted enough, I won't let it ruin things for me, or if there's a good reason for it that actually isn't just a coincidence, then cool.
It really does play on the sort of, from what it sounds like at least, these sort of prequel elements to books on media in general that you specifically really dislike.
I mean, it's just that one thing, because everything with the city and like the idea of the city, like how it became corrupt originally, is an interesting thing to just talk about. And like, okay, and also the idea that Slam Bradley's the character we're following, because that's who Detective Comics was about before Batman, and that's kind of a neat little sort of way to weave it into, whether this in continuity or just like its own thing, is another question, which I'll answer maybe by the end of it. But I do like exploring of this time period of Gotham. I think it's interesting, and I don't think having a kidnap plot where Richard has to get his daughter back, and it feels forced into the history of the Waynes, because before Thomas Wayne, everything's just kind of up for, other than the fact that they're a rich family that moved to the city and helped found it, it's like everything's fair game.
All you need, yeah.
So, but I did really like it otherwise, though. I'm just a little concerned about this bat symbol shenanigans.
Makes sense.
On the ransom letters and stuff. So, depending on who this villain turns out to be and like why they're doing it and what's going on, will sort of dictate how I appreciate some of the answers in the story. But I cannot deny it is a very well crafted comic book. Not that I'm surprised at this point, but really good stuff. So I'll give it a 9, because I do think it's a great comic book. There's just that one story detail that could become a problem as time goes on. But it was overwhelmingly very, very good otherwise.